trust me with.
Nice.
Yeah, this is what privilege looks like. The rabbis do not humble me. I'm here to humble the rabbis. Rabbis don't humble me. They just simply have that privilege. Thank you.
My mother just texted me.
Maybe there's.
Here we go. Here we go.
Good morning, girls.
Morning. What's
Did
up?
you see me?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
You are in charge?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Some can say that.
Very nice. I mean, you saw me crossing the street.
I didn't see crossing the street, but I saw you walking up.
Thank you for opening.
I know, my hand goes up there.
I opened the door for you.
My hand is always going to them, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Rabbi, how was my door opening skills today?
How was your what?
Door opening skills today.
Your door opening?
Skills, how were they? On a scale of like 1 to 10. Was it prompt?
Which door did you open?
The one downstairs, obviously.
You had the buzzer?
Yeah.
Oh, so you get 10 out of 10.
Okay, all right. Good answer. Good answer. Was it prompt enough?
We drive right on time.
All right. Beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put that on my resume.
Yeah.
Let the boys know what it's all about.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
To be precise.
Devorah, we enjoyed having you on Zoom yesterday.
Thank you, Rabbi. I really appreciated that because the boys didn't let me come. But here I am. Today is my last day.
Me too.
Why?
They dismissed me.
Oh yeah, it is your last day for like 3
Your
weeks.
last day?
Till after
until
Passover.
after Pesach. Okay.
Passing over.
Okay. Mine is I don't know until when because I never know, but
I'll teach.
Hashem knows.
Hashem knows.
You look like a
Rachel.
That is true.
Sarah Abigail, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Actually, look at Oria's mom. I'll take a picture. I'm going to send it to Oria.
Erev Rosh Chodesh. This is a very big day. Rosh Chodesh coming up. Rosh Chodesh, not just any Rosh Chodesh. It's Rosh Chodesh Nisan.
Oh dear.
On Rosh Chodesh Nisan, when the temple, the Jewish people erected for the first time a temple to God.
Perfect.
Before that, they had, places where they could bring an offering called a bama, like the name of our previous president. A bama.
Obama or Obama?
A bama.
Obama.
Our president was Obama. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one
Similar.
similar.
But from the time that the base of Migdash was erected, fulfilling the commandment, also the Migdash, they should make for me a Migdash is sanctuary, a holy place, from the word Kodesh, a Migdash, so that I can be together with them. And this would be a place where Hashem could meet with the Jewish people, and the Jewish people could meet with Hashem, where we could bring our offerings. Today, we don't have the Beis Hamikdash, we have the oil. And of course, a person doesn't have to go to the Beis Hamikdash to pray to Hashem, because you make your life into a Beis Hamikdash. But this was the first time that the Beis Hamikdash was actually erected. It was called the Mishkan, from the word shochen, which means to dwell, to make Hashem a dwelling place in this world. And this was erected today, on this day, Rosh Chodesh. So the fundamental principle in Hasidus is that when we learn about a thing, like when you read the Megillah, you live through the Megillah. There's a law. If you read the Megillah backwards, if you read it backwards, did you hear the Megillah? Well, you heard the Megillah. It was backwards. The Baal Shem Tov said, what does it mean backwards? It means you read it in your mind and heart. It was an old story. Something happened a long time ago. So you're mentally backwards. And that applies to everything in the Torah. Everything in the Torah is now. The Torah is a now document. So today is the Hayomim Ha'elin is Karim. By mentioning the things that took place on this day, we live through them again. And today is the day that they erected the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan, for the first time. And this was a tremendous joy for the whole Jewish people. Why? Because almost a year earlier, they had worshipped the golden calf.
Almost
a year earlier.
A year.
Like 10 months earlier. 9 months earlier. They had worshipped the golden calf, and the beautiful crowns that Hashem had given them were all taken back, taken away. And they were like in big trouble. They were in big trouble with Hashem. And so they were doing tshuva the whole time, doing deep tshuva for 80 days. Until Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, Hashem said to Moshe, I forgive them the way you asked. Moshe had played a very strong, courageous hand with Hashem. He said, if you're not going to forgive them, take me out of the book. Take my name out of your book. Either they're in or I'm out. Hashem said, okay, I forgive them the way you asked. But that was on Yom Kippur. That's why Yom Kippur is a day of forgiveness. However, they still didn't know if they had been accepted with grace, graciously by Hashem. Hashem gave them the commandments to build for himself a sanctuary. So they thought, oh, that's promising. That means he's accepting us. But then he didn't. He didn't let them build it. They were ready. They were ready to erect the Mikdash so fast. They worked on it so hard. They wanted so much to be able to do it. By a month and a half later, Kislev, they were ready to go. Hashem said, no, not yet. Not yet. So they kept on doing tshuva. Hashem made up for it. He gave them a different holiday. On that day that they were ready to put up the Mishkan, Hashem gave them a different holiday, Hanukkah. And so Hanukkah is very much connected with building the Beis Hamikdash, because the Maccabees restored the Beis Hamikdash after it had been defiled. But still, Hashem didn't let them put up the sanctuary, the Mishkan, until a week ago. And a week ago, Hashem said, okay, now is good. You can put it up. And they put it up, and they brought an offering. Hashem didn't accept the offering. How do they know they didn't accept the offering? The fire wouldn't light, I guess. The fire wouldn't light. And they felt rejected. They felt terrible. They felt that their tshuva was incomplete and was not acceptable before Hashem. So they did it again the next day. Again, nothing. And the next day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day, 7 days in a row, they erected the Mishkan, and every day they took it down. And they brought a new one. The next day, he brought another offering. They erected the Mishkan, brought an offering, and took it down. Who did the offering? Moshe was the high priest. And Hashem said, Moshe, you can't be the high priest. Aaron has to be the high priest. So on the 8th day, Aaron was afraid to do it because Aaron knew that he was responsible for offering the golden calf. Well, Moshe was up on Mount Sinai and the Jews were rioting. They thought Moshe was dead and they killed Hur. Moshe's nephew tried to stop them. They killed him. Ooh, it was wild. And so Aaron was stalling. And he said to them, give me your gold and I'll make something for you to worship you. They wanted someone to take the place of Moshe. They thought Moshe was dead. They thought when Moshe went up, it was supposed to be for 40 days. On the 40th day, he didn't come down. Because they didn't count, they didn't realize. The first day was only half a day. It had to be a whole day. You know, like Shabbos starts in the evening and then it's a whole day. So on the 40th whole day, Moshe came down, but it was too late. So Aaron had been stalling. He didn't let them make the altar because he figured they'll make it within an hour. So he took his time. He crouched. And it took him a day to make the altar. And then a certain person came and he had a kameya that Moshe had written, a little note that Moshe had written. Moshe had, when Yosef passed on, he made the people, the leaders of the Jewish people, promise and swear that they would take him with them when they left Egypt. He knew they were going to leave Egypt. He didn't want to stay there. He didn't want to stay. He wanted to go up to Eretz Yisrael. So that was Moshe's job. How was he going to, where was he? Well, there was one lady who lived very, very long. She was a granddaughter of Yaakov Avinu. Her name was Serach. Anybody here called Sarah? No. She was called Sarah, and she had lived until the Exodus. And I think she lived to come to Eretz Yisrael. Maybe she even went alive into heaven. I don't remember that detail. Sarah knew where Yosef was. And she pointed out exactly the spot in the Nile. He'd been placed in the Nile. He wanted to be in the Nile. They wanted to put him in the Nile, and that was their God. He wanted to be in the Nile because he didn't want the vermin crawling over his body during the 10 plagues. And Pharaoh wanted him in the Nile so he would remain as a blessing to the Egyptians. So she knew where he was, and he had a nickname. He was called Shor, the ox. And so Moshe wrote on a piece of parchment, I guess, Ale Shor, arise, O ox. Arise, O ox. And he threw this into the Nile, and the casket bearing Yosef came up. And this kid, there was a kid, like a groupie, he was following Moshe around everywhere. He realized the greatness of Moshe, and he always wanted to be near Moshe. When he saw this, and the Aaron came up, and Moshe had to start taking care of the Aaron, and the kid grabbed that parchment that Moshe had written on it, Arise, O ox, and he held on to it. Just like anybody gets a hold of him, anything that the Rebbe wrote, they hold on to it. Something from a tzaddik, you hold on to it, it's precious. And here the Jewish people wanted someone to replace Moshe. He ran over to the cauldron with the boiling molten gold in it, and he threw in that parchment that said, Arise, O ox, and out came, Aaron didn't build the golden calf. It walked out, living, breathing, eating grass. Nobody ever saw anything like it before or after. So that's why Moshe couldn't be the high priest. No, that's not why. Moshe couldn't be the high priest because Moshe said Lashon Hara on the Jewish people. Moshe felt, since Jewish people had informed on him to Pharaoh that he had killed the guard, the policeman, who was, this Egyptian policeman had raped a Jewish lady and was beating up her husband all the time. And Moshe killed him. And these two leaders of the Jewish people, called Dasan, and Dasan was one of them, and Aviram was the other one. And they informed on him. So Moshe had to run away to save his life. And he felt, since these leaders of the Jewish people informed on him, this was a sign the Jewish people didn't deserve. Maybe Jewish people, there was disunity amongst the Jewish people. That's why they couldn't be redeemed. Because Hashem is unity, and he can only dwell in a place of unity, and that's why. So Hashem said that was Moshe. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have even thought that. Shouldn't have felt that. These are my children. I love them. And you're thinking negative about them, you can't be the high priest. High priest has to love every single Jew. So Aaron had to become the high priest. And now on the 8th day, they put up the Mishkan. And Aaron brought it. Aaron was afraid to do it because he felt it was his responsibility that the golden calf had been produced. And that's why he couldn't serve as high priest. And Hashem told Moshe, no, Aaron should do it. And Aaron made the offering, and a fire came down out of heaven. They saw it with a fire came down out of heaven. Now, how do you think the Jewish people felt when that fire came down? Mm-hmm. That meant, relief, tremendous, but unbelievable relief, because they'd been living under this pressure for almost a year now, 10 months at least. Would Hashem ever take them back? I mean, imagine a couple breaks up for some reason, and how miserable they are until their marriage is restored. The Jewish people were miserable. And now Hashem showed that he was taking them back. And they were jubilant. It's hardly the word for it. So that's what we're living through today. It's today. This happened today.
But it wasn't over by that.
What?
It wasn't over by after they gave that carbon and that's it. Those people, the generation that was actually there in the midbar, they were the ones that didn't go inside of Eretz Israel.
Nope. Okay. So this is the day Rosh Chodesh, and we actually read in the Siddur today. Nachshon, the prince of the tribe of Yehuda, brought an offering on behalf of his tribe, and we read about it on this day. And tomorrow we're going to read about the offering that was brought by Yisachar, because he designed the whole offering. This is what we're living through today. These are very special days of great blessing, starting tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first day, Rosh Chodesh. That's when they erected the Mishkan. That's when they started to bring the offerings. That's when they felt this tremendous relief that Hashem had forgiven them. Okay.
From tonight on.
From tonight on, right. Can someone give me a book, please? Thank you.
Well.
Chapter 12. We have to race through chapter 12 now.
Oh, yeah.
Mushka, that's a very good point. I don't know what to tell you. I never thought about it.
Because like from what, it's like.
Anybody ever told
it's
you
like
something about it?
You tell, like a child does something and you tell him that you forgive him and then you think it's okay and then you give him a big punishment. Like, so.
Well,
decide.
they didn't all stay alive all that time, did they? The only ones who were taken from Egypt up to Eretz Yisrael were the sons of Yaakov. That's what each tribe brought the ancestor of their tribe with them. But the rest of the people who passed away 190 years, they stayed in Egypt. So you have a question? I don't have an answer. People came by the Rebbe before Pesach, and he would say to the father, "Oh, your son is with you. Did he prepare the 4 questions?" He said, "Yeah." And the Rebbe said, and then the Rebbe would turn to the father and say, "And did you prepare 4 answers?"
Before the answers is what comes right after the question.
Yeah, but they heard that last year already. Now they need a new answer.
By us, my father every time comes up with a different kind of parish.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Oh, very good. So, and you've got 2 weeks now. You'll share it with the other girls.
I won't be there.
Okay, so we were talking yesterday about the fact that this key concept, page 184, this concept is brought to main theme in Basi Lagani, which you learned, Yud Shvat, which is a teaching from Rabbi Akiva in the Talmud, connected with the wife who's suspected of adultery. A husband sees his wife a little bit too friendly with somebody else. And he tells her, "I don't want you to keep on seeing this guy. It's interfering with our marriage." And she goes and sees him again. And they're alone in a closed room for a very short period of time. So she now, in discussing this whole issue, she says, "I didn't do anything." And he says, "Yeah, but I told you not to be with him, and you were with him in a very compromising situation. I had private detectives following you." So, sounds familiar, right? So this is nothing new. So she has to go through a whole test. It's called the Sota. She has to drink the bitter waters. Hashem has his name erased in order to restore the marriage. There it brings down this issue in the name of Rabbi Akiva. Why would she do such a stupid thing? Why would she destroy her marriage? Because she wanted to see this guy one more time. They had something they had to talk about, or she wanted to tell him how unhappy she was that her husband didn't let her see him anymore. Whatever it was that she wanted to be alone with him, she did it. And this now destroyed her marriage and may even destroy her life. Physically, this kill her. So it says in the Talmud about this was such a stupid thing to do because she listened to the Yetzer Hara was a snake. And we can generalize from this that any time a person does a transgression and violates the will of God, crosses the red line and does something against the will of God, it's because a spirit of foolishness enters the heart. There we are on page 184. We're learning that a person walks on 2 feet. He has the ability to control his mind and for his mind to dominate his heart, and his heart may urge him to do foolish things because no person would do a sin unless the spirit of foolishness entered his heart. But a person is created with the power to rule over the heart and to think of something else, and especially to think of something holy, so that this improper desire will never express itself in action. He won't do anything wrong. He won't say anything wrong, and he won't entertain a thought that's improper in his mind. Going down now to the bottom of page 184, and this resolves the whole, this is what the Beinoni is all about. But we still have to define more clearly what the Beinoni is. It sounds like now he's a righteous person. He never does anything wrong, never says anything wrong, never thinks anything wrong. The bottom of page 184, that means he's a tzaddik, says the Alter Rebbe, bottom of page 184. Nonetheless, he's not a tzaddik. We can't say he's a tzaddik. Why? We just said that he's ruling, he's in possession of the city. He took over, he recaptured Kharkov. He drove out the invaders from the left side of his heart. He drove them out. So why isn't he a victor? Why isn't he a tzaddik? Because in the last line of page 184, because this victory of light of the godly soul, we just said light, a little light pushes away a lot of darkness, and the wisdom, the chokhmah in the godly soul pushes away the foolishness in the left side of his heart. I have to mute this. So the wisdom in the godly soul pushes away the stupidity, the foolishness of the clip in the left side of his heart. Now comes the key, another key phrase. This victory of the godly soul over the animal soul, it isn't an essential victory. It doesn't penetrate the animal soul to its essence. In other words, in a game of chess, you may win the game of chess, but your pawn never got to the end of the board to become a queen. The animal soul remains an animal soul, just it can't express itself because the godly soul is ruling over it. So the dominion of the godly soul, the sovereignty of the godly soul over the rulership of the godly soul over the animal soul only goes so far as what the person will say, what the person will do, what the person will say, what the person will think. That he can control. But the essence of the animal soul remains an animal soul, ever ready to come back, to spring back into action. Page 185. The essence and the core of the divine soul does not dominate the animal soul, because in the Beinoni, middle of page 185, in the Beinoni, the essence and the core of the animal soul, which comes from Klippa's Noiga, is lodged, remains lodged in the left side of the heart after prayer and returns full strength. Why? Because we said what happens when the person meditates on godliness, his mind is filled with the greatness of Hashem. That's what we learned. This is the concept we spoke about in length. The meditating on the greatness of Hashem on high. Right? How Hashem is thinking in his chokhmah. So he's revealing in his chokhmah, his greatness and shining his light into his quality of chesed and creating the world. And this inspires us that we should shine our chokhmah into our quality of chesed, and this inspires love in our hearts. So Hashem has a great idea. I love this idea of making a world where I'm going to have a temple in this world of darkness. I'm going to have a temple of light. That's a great idea. Hashem had a great idea. His chokhmah shone into his chesed. He had a great idea. And we, in our turn, have a great idea that we perceive this, and this fills our heart with love. Which side of the heart? The right side of the heart. You with me? You following me? And from the right side of the heart, it spills over into the left side of the heart. And the Yetzer Hara is vanquished temporarily. But after davening, that's only during the davening, during Shema, during Shmona Esrei. What happens after davening? That love dies down. And since the love dies down, the darkness comes running back. As the light dims, the darkness returns. And so therefore, since the darkness returns, what happens? With the Yetzer Hara coming back in the left side of the heart, he comes back with all his temptations and all his desires all over again, turning the page, 186, like he didn't even daven at all. The reality of the physical world, material world, reasserts itself. Before now, and during his moments of inspiration, there was no world. There was only his relationship with God. Now the love dies down. Oh yeah, this physical reality. Yeah, there's a sale at Bloomingdale's. Black Thursday. Now I can get something that I really, really need. Okay. So it's as if he never davened at all, heaven forbid. The middle of page 186. However, this craving for something from the physical world, from the materialistic world, doesn't lead him to do something wrong because he's controlling himself. So what happens to that craving? He pushes it away. There used to be a comedian from my youth. I used to see this on television. He was a Spanish-speaking comedian, a ventriloquist. He had a box, and in this box there was a creature. We never saw the creature. We just heard his voice, Senor Ventures. You ever saw him?
No.
No, but it sounds fun.
Get back in the. He'd open the box. All right, so sorry. All right. Close the box. It made everybody laugh. It was very funny. So that's what happens. The Yetzer Hara takes over and tells you you need this, you need that, you need this, and get back in the box. You push it away with two hands, and that's the struggle. And how do you win this struggle? Because now he tells us that there's, first of all, in your mind, there's still a leftover. There's leftovers on the plate from those moments of inspiration when you were davening. They made an impression in your mind. They left an impression in your mind. Just like on the opposite side, when a person does a transgression, he does tshuva, it also leaves a stain in the heart. Here, your inspiration leaves a lasting impression in your mind. It's not the full blazing light of inspiration, but it's a light. And with that light, it inspires Yir Shamayim in your heart, which is not the full force feeling of love, fear of Hashem and love of Hashem like you had when you were davening, but it's a natural kind of fear of Hashem that is innate to every single Jew. Every one of you girls has this. This is a very encouraging word to know that Hashem creates every single Jewish person with a natural love for Hashem and a desire to be good and the opposite of a desire to do bad. When you're a little child, you don't even know about clothing. That to go around without clothing is immodest. You have to be taught that. Once you grow up, however, to go around without clothing is so unnatural to a person that I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience, that in order to be one of the crowd, you have to do something immodest, dress somewhat immodestly, or do something immodest. I don't know what it might be, get a tattoo in some place, or wear some clothing that isn't, improper, and or go to the beach and something that's, and a mixed beach, of course, go to something that, and you have to sort of work on yourself to do it because you're shy. A person is naturally shy. It's immodest. A Jewish person naturally is modest. The Jewish person isn't modest. We have to wonder what kind of background do they come from? What were their parents and grandparents like? The Jewish person naturally, there are three qualities of a Jewish person, right? What are they? Kind, merciful, and modest. We're born with those qualities. That's the nature of the creature. So when it comes to actually doing something wrong, so you have the leftovers of the feelings of love in your heart, and you have the natural fear and love of God that you're born with, and they kick in at this point, and they help the person. So even though the Yetzer Hara comes with all his temptations and arguments why you should do what he's telling you, but that the leftover feeling of love that you had when you were davening and the natural feeling of love and fear in your heart, push it away. They do not allow the Yetzer Hara to dominate and to cause you to actually do a sin in the three garments of your action, speech, or thought. But there's a struggle. And that's what the Beinoni is all about. The Beinoni is about that struggle. When the temptations come thronging back and you have nothing to fight them with except a leftover inspiration and the innate natural feelings of love and fear that a Jew is born with, that's the struggle. And the Beinoni always wins. But he gets knocked down. The Beinoni gets knocked down. And he could even get upset and depressed. But he fights. Depression is also a trick of the Yetzer Hara. He fights back and he wins. And that's the story of chapter 12. Because the Beinoni will never willingly allow these negative thoughts and temptations to enter the left side of his heart. Heaven forbid. Because if he entertains them, then he's not a Beinoni anymore. He's a Rasha. Because the Rasha never does something wrong, not in thought, speech, or action. And now, fasten your seatbelts because this is really hard now. Now, the Rebbe in the last paragraph of chapter 12 says, how does this apply to me practically? It's all very interesting theory, Alter Rebbe. How does it apply to me that these temptations come back into my heart, and from the heart they go up into my mind, and the Yetzer Tov fights back, and I push them away? Practical. What does it mean? So turn to page 188 at the bottom. So too in matters between one person and his fellow. As soon as there arises from your heart, not a temptation for sushi or ice cream or something else. You know that story of Rabbi Nemanov, I told you about that. He's the big Rosh Yeshiva from France, from Brunois. He would always tell the children, the students, that they should avoid temptations for physical pleasures. And ice cream was one of the big themes that he would harp on. And they saw him at a wedding eating ice cream. They said, Rabbi, what are you doing eating ice cream? He said, oh, this is ice cream. I thought it was cold soup. He didn't even know what ice cream was. Anyway, so in terms of relations between man and his fellow man, as soon as there arises from the heart, not a temptation for a physical pleasure, but a feeling of anger or animosity, hatred, resentment, 189, jealousy, or a grudge, that's resentment. What will a person do when that feeling enters your heart? You see a certain person and you know, you get cold at the bone. The story about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He was a leader of the Jewish people during the times of the Roman siege, and you couldn't get out of it, and they snuck him out of Jerusalem to try and make peace with the Romans. And when he came to the Roman general, he hailed him as the emperor. He said, "You deserve to die." He said, "Why?" He said, "Because A, I'm not the emperor, so you rebelled against the emperor. And B, if I am the emperor, why didn't you come until now?" And Reb Shlomo Karlin used to think about this. It's a Gemara. We read it on Tisha B'Av. And Reb Shlomo Karlin thought about it on Rosh Hashanah and he fainted. That Hashem is saying to us, if I am the emperor, why didn't you come until now? Anyway, so when a feeling like this comes up into your mind, and it's a feeling of resentment, heaven forbid. It's not a feeling of a physical desire, pleasure. It's a feeling of resentment. It says, 189, let's read this together. Your mind has the power to prevail over this negative feeling, this feeling of anger. Oh, so why tell you this story? Because the emperor at that point, and then a messenger came and said, "Hail, emperor, I just got word from Rome. The emperor died and the Senate elected you to be the new emperor." And he was in the middle of putting on his leg armor called greaves. And he couldn't get his armor off his leg because his leg swelled up. And the tzaddik, Rabbi Yochanan, said to him, just like what it says in the pasuk, the good news makes the bones grow fat. He said, so what am I supposed to do? That's, by the way, one of the Rebbe's, that's Rebbe's pasuk. And so you want to do, he says, make your enemy pass in front of you, your bones will shrink. So when you see somebody that makes your bones shrink, and I'm sure we've all experienced that, somebody who hurt you or somebody who did something terrible, that you so disapprove of what they did, and you're so upset about it that they pass in front of you, you just turn away, you don't even want to be near them. So when you feel that feeling, says the Alter Rebbe, the Beinani will push it away with both hands. He won't enter that feeling, enter his heart about another person. His mind will dominate over these feelings in his heart, and he'll do the exact opposite. He'll conduct himself towards this person with kindness. So what do you do when you're having a problem with your roommate? Be kind to your roommate. And display this passionate, disproportionate love, way out of line, and put up with the abuse of this person. Anybody ever read Edgar Allan Poe, The Cask of Amontillado? That's what a person who took revenge. We don't take revenge, but we suffer. You put up with suffering to the nth degree, and you don't get angry, heaven forbid, and you take revenge, heaven forbid. But on the contrary, we repay the person who offends us with kindness, and we do favors for them. Like it says in the Zohar, we have to learn from Yosef with his brothers. Couldn't be worse than what his brothers did to him. They wanted to kill him. They sold him into slavery. They made his father, his beloved father, suffer for 22 years, not knowing if he was alive or dead. How can we live on that level? Yeah, that's what's required of us. And that's the takeaway from chapter 12. We'll return to chapter 13 after Passover.
You did it.
Kosher
We
Feicha
did it.
Pesach.
L'chaim.
We preached Christmas, but I'm by myself.
Perfect.
Hannah, Chava,
We're not yet.
We're not
Sarah Mora, Tova Myers,
just got our brass
Leah Rappaport, Sharon L., and Mushke. Okay, thank you very, very much. Have a wonderful
Thank you
Pesach,
so
everybody.
much. We did it.
So after Pesach, you're going to zoom in with us, yeah?
I
Mitzvah
will
Shem?
try, Bezat Hashem, but let's see, at least your class, I'll try.
That would be a thrill. That would be a great thrill.
Thank
Okay.
you so much for everything. It was amazing to join the class again.
I baked matzahs yesterday with Rabbi Majeski. We ended up in the same group. And he turned to me and said, how far did you go this year? I said, chapter 12. And he looked at me. And I didn't even know then if I would finish chapter. And he says, how are you going to get to chapter 22 by Shavuos? I said, we're going to do it, Rabbi. We're going to do it.
Don't worry.
Okay.